I'd like to call to order the February 4th, 2014 regular meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners. I would invite you to stand if you wish as I lead the invocation and then followed by the pledge. Father, thank you for another great day in Bowling Green, for taking care of us as you have, and we pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance as we consider the issues that are before us tonight. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They can't see behind the cameraman, so I was just telling them they could move over on this side.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hill. Here. Commissioner Waltrip.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Denning.
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Here. Do we have any awards and recognitions that you'd like to mention tonight?
I do not.
Okay, I have a couple of items just as a reminder for the wonderful service that they provided for many years. We want to recognize Company Commander Ray Clayton, who retired after 21 years of service. Ray's not here with us tonight. Fred Crump, also a firefighter, EMT2, with over 22 years of service, is retiring, and a longtime staple in public works, Jackie Edwards, after 32 years of service, has retired. She had some very good cake. Thank you very much for your service. Any other comments, awards, or recognitions? All right, Mr. DeFebo, do you have any comments?
Yes, Mayor. There'll be a need for an executive session. Katie will read the reasons.
Pursuant to KRS 61810B, for deliberation on the future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, but only when publicity would likely affect the value of the specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by the city. KRS 61810C, for discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the city. And KRS 61810F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee without restricting that employee's right to a public hearing if requested. This exception shall not be interpreted to permit discussions of general personnel matters in secret.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Next is the approval of minutes for our regular meeting of January 21st, 2014.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. We have a time in every city commission meeting for public comments. If there's anyone in the room that would like to make a comment on an item that is not on our agenda tonight, this would be the time for that. Is there anyone who would like to step forward? Seeing none, our first item for consideration is Municipal Order 2014, number 9.
Municipal order approving the promotions of Robbie L. Gilliam to the position of Company Commander EMT and Benjamin T. Mock to the position of Fire Apparatus Operator EMT in the Fire Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. Mr. DeFebo.
As the mayor mentioned earlier, Ray Clayton retired, which put into motion a whole series of promotional opportunities. Tonight we're here to take advantage of two of those opportunities. On behalf of Greg Johnson, Dustin Rockroar is here to put Greg's nomination for promotion before you. Dustin?
Welcome.
Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. DeFabo, thank you for having us in tonight. It's my pleasure to recommend both of these young men for the promotional appointments. I've had the pleasure of working with both of them over the years. Rob's been with the department for about 10 years. He's been very active in a lot of our programs, especially the SCBA program as of recent. He ran our Honor Guard and ran our Honor Guard boot camp for years. He actually initiated that program for us and is very capable. It's my pleasure to recommend him for the position of Company Commander, and he'll be assigned to our training division. We've had a transfer with Jason Souders moving into the suppression division after the retirement of Ray Clayton, and Rob has been the choice to be promoted from sergeant to captain in the training division. Secondly, Ben Mock's been with the department about 5 years. Ben's been very active at Station 3 recently in our hazmat program. He is also one of the coordinators for our turnout gear program, which is the apparatus and all the fire gear that we wear. And that's a pretty inventory-intensive program. There's a lot of wear and tear on those items, and Ben has been able to produce some very good tracking and documentation for those fields. And we're recommending him for the position of sergeant in our suppression division.
Thank you for those recommendations, and both of those candidates are here tonight, and we always take this opportunity to embarrass you by asking you to stand up so everybody at home can see who you are. Thank you. I know you enjoy the support of your families who are here with you, and thank you for all that you do. But we got one little thing to do before we get done, and that's vote on it. So unless anybody has any comments, please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denny.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. I know you're going to go downstairs and start taking pictures. Thank you for being here. Next item is Municipal Order 2014, number 10.
Municipal order accepting response to request for proposals for auditing services from Mountjoy Chilton Medley LLP of Louisville, Kentucky, beginning with fiscal year 2013-2014 and extending through fiscal year 2017-2018.
So moved.
Motion by Hill and second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
The city undertakes an external audit every year. We go out to competitive requests for proposals to do that. Leading that process is internal audit committee and our internal auditor, Deborah Jenkins. That process tonight produced the recommendation from the internal audit committee of Mountjoy, Chilton, and Medley. Deborah Jenkins, our internal auditor, is here. If you have any questions, this recommendation has been properly vetted. Mr. Denning is a member. Joe, would you like to add any comments?
Yes, sir. First is to commend Deborah Jenkins for the great work that she does. Deborah is right on top of everything. Any question that you ask, she's got the answer, and she does a tremendous job for the city of Bowling Green in making sure that all the guidelines that we've set are taken care of, and that each one of our departments are doing what they're supposed to do, and of course legally. So I want to commend her for what she does. She works well with our board. She keeps us straight, right on target, and I needed to say that.
I have a question for you, please. I want to echo Joe's comments too, because we know what the impetus was behind creating this internal auditor division, and we get regular reports that we really appreciate knowing what's going on, and that you're taking steps to do that. I do have one quick question though.
Okay.
In a previous commission, I was on the audit committee, and there was some concern at that time that we would continue with the same auditor for year after year after year. Can you explain the steps that we've taken to make sure that somebody doesn't get complacent?
Yes. One of the things that we do, for one, we take it out to bid every 5 years. We don't continue on with one just for the sake of continuing on with one. So we allow the public, and this year we had 5. 5 years ago when we sent it out, we had 3. So the interest in this is growing. All 5 of these were very competitive bids. But what we do is, what the audit committee will do, the last time there was a contract, they required that there was a rotation of the partner, and then at some time also the on-site manager. That changes up personnel that's within it. With this contract, they had thought about that as well, but just through the natural either retirement of principals and changing out from prior requests, we've already had some rotation, so that way we know we won't have any leads or management that's on this audit for too long of a time period. So that way you don't run into those issues with becoming complacent or thinking you know the answer before you ask the question. So that's one of the reasons also why the audit committee is now the one that recommends this. We do have Jeff Meisel as our CFO, he and some of the finance staff, they do look at some of the RFPs as well, and they will be there to answer any questions that the audit committee has. But really, the burden and the responsibility of evaluating those and making that recommendation, it is with the audit committee now, which is independent. So Jeff's not hiring his own auditors. So that is one big change that was implemented when we created the audit committee.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
to concur with what Deborah has said, is that we evaluated the firms that had submitted a packet to us, and Deborah leading the way, and others, we felt for Bowling Green that the continuation with a new contract and with some of the things that Deborah has mentioned as far as managing partners or whatever their title may be, was best for us to continue with this particular company. They've done an outstanding job for us. They are upfront. They don't hold nothing back, and they tell it like it is, whether we want to hear it or not. And they have been good for the city of Bowling Green under Deborah's direction, and of course, our Chief Financial Officer Jeff Meisel is always involved in something with us, and he keeps us in line too. So I think all of us are on the same track, and we're going to make sure that things are done the way they should be done.
And the audit committee did a very thorough evaluation. They went through all the criteria the way that we had in place. They went through, and it was very competitive. I mean, we had some very good bids, and I was very pleased to see that. So it wasn't one where one really just definite for sure went through all the criteria, and we had some very, very good solid bids. But at the end of the day, the audit committee felt that it was in the city's best interest to stay with Mount Joy for the next 5-year term.
Thank you. Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have a question? I noticed there is one firm from Bowling Green.
Mm-hmm.
Did local preference did it play a fact on this?
Does not apply for requests for proposals.
Okay.
Not
Thank
with an
you.
RFP, but yes, that was some things that were brought up within it, and they went through mandatory items. Then there was expertise and experience, and then the staff that was going to be assigned to it. So they went through all of the criteria, as well as with the actual cost figures for it. And one thing that I also wanted to not leave out, with the advances that our finance department has implemented, we are actually going to be saving money with this contract. From our current year contract to next year's bid, we'll be saving almost $15,000, over $14,000. And the reason for that decrease is because finance has gotten to the point where they feel they can create their own financial statements and have the auditors review them and just verify them, instead of having to pay them to create all of our financials for us. So along with Erin Ballou, I know she's kind of been key in trying to help and get the city to that point, but this will actually save the city several $1,000s from our current contract by the changes that they made in finance. So
Good job. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014, number 11.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2014-14 for the City Hall Annex and Neighborhood and Community Services Building Renovation Project from Scott Murphy and Daniel LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in an amount not to exceed $1,949,130.75.
So moved.
Motion by Waltrip, second by Denning. Mr. Febo.
The purpose of this bid was to secure building services for the rehabilitation of the City Hall Annex, as well as the new Neighborhood and Community Services Building. We had 4 bidders, 3 were responsive. The lowest bid was Scott Murphy and Daniel of Bowling Green. The money for this project is in our treasury and will not involve any debt. I'd like to also thank Jeff Lashley and Brent Childers, who helped guide the discernment process, and as well as Katie for helping to save money for the last 3 years to do this. So,
And this does 3 things for us, is that correct? 3 different, moving 3 different locations?
yes, Gene Harmon will be moving also to Over, and will be developing a new records retention function, and then the Neighborhood and Community Services will be going up to 707 East Main Street and provide better services to primarily our contracting public, since they won't have to fight the parking lot here anymore. The annex will be improved, primarily focusing on security as well as additional space for our technology department. So we think it's a win-win all around. And the good part is we're able to do it without undertaking any debt.
Significant savings to building additional buildings too, to make sure that we use what we have and try to save the taxpayers as much money as we can.
I would agree with that.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, and I see the project superintendent and supervisors in the back of the room, Mr. Murphy. Glad to have you on site. Municipal Order 2014, number 12.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2014-18 for police vehicle equipment from Truckers Lighthouse of Nashville, Tennessee, Law Enforcement Supply of Marietta, Georgia, On Duty Depot of Owensboro, Kentucky, and Hutton Comms Incorporated of Carlton, Texas, in the total amount of $48,861.48.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
A short time ago, the city purchased new vehicles for patrol officers in our police department. The purchase of the vehicle is only the first part of the process. Next one needs to outfit the vehicles to make them service ready. And tonight we're here to ask you to approve a bid to a number of different parties, approximately 4 out of 5 bidders, to help us with the refitting process to do that. Jeff Lashley is here if you have any questions about outfitting and our department that does that.
Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-13.
Municipal order approving a contract through cooperative purchase with AT&T Mobility of Greenbelt, Maryland, under the Kentucky pricing contract for outdoor internet service access and use of air cards.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
Last week at our retreat, we talked about the exciting new endeavor we're undertaking to provide greater reliability for our police and firemen, as well as a number of other departments in the city, migrating from a fixed wireless, fixed wired system to a wireless system using air cards. We used the cooperative purchasing capability of the state, and we're here tonight to ask you to approve our participation in that so that we can get our police officers and firefighters outfitted with the necessary air cards. Also at the retreat, we talked about still maintaining the capability of some of our parks, and we're still exploring that, Melinda, so that'll take a little while. But we needed to divide the question to move forward on this.
And this will be a considerable savings in
Yes.
money as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Comments or questions?
Lynn's here to answer any questions you may have.
Anything? No discussion, please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-14.
Municipal order authorizing the submission and acceptance of a grant application with the Federal Transit Administration for federal fiscal year 2014 federal transportation assistance under the Section 5307 program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. Mr. DeFebo.
With your courtesy, number 6 and number 7 are in the same family. One involves us asking permission to submit a grant to ask the federal government to give us money to help us to maintain and run our bus system. The other is to apply for capital match and toll credits. It might be helpful if Cheryl Ellen could come up. Naturally, I didn't tell her I was going to do this.
I could tell by the look on her face.
And maybe she can answer any questions you may have. This is generally a housekeeping item. We're pretty excited to have a municipal bus system, and Cheryl and her community action do a good job of running that. Cheryl, you have any
Since you're
comment?
here.
Since you're here.
Yes, Cheryl Allen, Community Action of Southern Kentucky. Do you have any questions at this point?
Very good.
If you would, just the amount of money that the federal government gives us that we have to match and how that match occurs, which then goes into the second item.
This is our 5307 grant, which is our traditional regular funding, and it's broken down into our capital, operating, and planning dollars, and that is number 6, which is our federal dollars, and the capital is $468,386, and that includes $229,000, which would rehabilitate 2 of the full-size transit buses that we're trying to get from Louisville, TARC, just to process. And then also would purchase 2 lift-equipped buses for our ADA passengers and install tablets for our ADA routing and security cameras. And then it would be $239,386 of the capital dollars, which are actually used to help pay for the ADA paratransit expenses as well as some of the preventative maintenance. And the reason we capitalize those expenses is that it reduces the match substantially, because the operating dollars are a 50-50 match. And so that we have to come up with the match, it reduces the amount of match that we have to come up with. And then the operating expenses would be $643,114, and then planning would be $4,000. And then number 7, which is the toll credits and capital match, we asked for from the state of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And the state match, we asked for $54,043, and the toll credits are $65,053. And this will allow us, as Mr. DeFebo said, to continue operations for our services. If you haven't seen the ad in the paper, and we might have some passes tonight, we have our special right now on passes where if you buy a $10 pass, which is 9 rides, you get a free $5 pass, which is 4 rides. So we'll be happy to help you out with any of those. And it makes a great gift for a lot of people to depend on transit.
I know we kind of get used to the terminology used by the federal government. When you say 5307, that's a program that the federal government does to help communities provide public transportation. They're giving us about $640,000 to help operate that. The city has to match that with $640,000, but we get to offset some of that with what they call toll credits, which is a write-off from the state. And then on capital assistance, they get about $470,000, and we have to then come up with 20% over and above that to help match. And that provides that we then turn around and contract with the Community Action of Southern Kentucky to provide public transportation. I think you gave us some, did I give that to you, Bill? Some ridership information that we talked about at our planning session. And let's see, for total ridership in fiscal year 13 is over 120,000 trips that people took on the bus. So we're making some inroads. It's going to be a long process to get it done, but we're
It
trying
is,
to.
and it's been exciting to watch the interest in the new transit center around the corner. Ken's office is actually down there part of the time, because a lot of the time he's out and about. But the riders and customers are really starting to identify that location with transit, and that's going to be really exciting. And we have our Transit Advisory Council meetings down there, and we're expanding that. And we talked the other night about how could we further improve the services, and Western and us are continuing those discussions, and it's an exciting time when people, and spring is right around the corner, and we'll want to get on our bikes and walk again. And when you can look at transportation not just as 4 wheels, and all the different ways that we can get around multimodal, there's a lot of opportunities here in Bowling Green.
Thank you. Any questions?
The
Yes,
only
sir.
other comment that the mayor referred to is hopefully in the coming short term we'll be looking at possibility of looking at enhancing some more public transportation services. I know that there's a lot of discussion in the community about more routes, longer times, weekends, and things like that. So, as Bruce said, we started that discussion Friday. So hopefully that will, as we go along, will really help improve our public transportation even more. And
Right.
again, I commend you, as everyone else will, about how you all have run the bus system so far.
We know that increasing frequency will make a huge difference.
Well, it has to do with quality of life, economic development. It just impacts all parts of our community. So that's
Right.
the reason we've all taken that as a priority, is enhanced public transportation this next year.
And with the newer buses, when we get those, they'll look more like public transit to the community.
When will we see those?
We don't know, sir. We've been waiting
When might we
for
see those?
4 months to get approval from the feds. And then we have to get new tires on them before we can get them down here, and.
It'll be
That's why I
exciting.
said we're trying to get them. We've
It'll
done,
be exciting when we get here. I know.
yes, sir.
How many people will those new buses from Louisville seat?
30,
There are 40 seated, a total of 80 possible to stand 8 is capacity.
but 40 on a bus. 40 seats on, compared to 28 now.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-15.
Municipal order authorizing the submission and acceptance of a request with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for federal fiscal year 2014 toll credits and capital match for transportation assistance for the Section 5307 program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-16.
Municipal order authorizing the Housing Authority of Bowling Green to retain the city's portion of the payment in lieu of taxes for the 2012 and 2013 tax years in the total amount of $34,453.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
Since 1962, the City of Bowling Green has been partnering with the Housing Authority of Bowling Green to develop what is known as a payment in lieu of taxes. We have been using this structure of the pilot to give that money back to the Housing Authority to use for its after-school program to help children gain a foothold in their development. Tonight we're here again to ask the Commission to return that payment in lieu of taxes back to the Housing Authority for this after-school program. Strong recommend its approval.
Comments or questions? As a member of the Housing Authority, I'd just like to tell you it's not a babysitting service. It's a homework assistance and tutoring and exposure to a lot of different things. So glad to help with that program. Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Ordinance, first reading of 2014, number 1.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 1.44 acres from HB Highway Business to RM4 Multifamily Residential located at 242 Audley Avenue, presently owned by Charles and Barbara English.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Mr. Febo.
Mayor, Steve Hunter's here. Commission, if you have any question about this first reading.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Hunter? Thanks for sticking around. Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. And just a reminder for those at home, we have a big, thick notebook of information here that we read before the meetings come in, so we should be well versed on what's coming up. All right.
Did we read that one from Kevin Brooks?
I think he's last on the list here. We made him wait. He's on. Oh, yeah, the computer.
As long as he's last.
All right. Municipal Order 2014, number 17.
Municipal order approving subdeveloper agreement and assignment and assumption of rights and obligations under master development agreement which includes a city TIF application related to Block 6 of the WKU Gateway to Downtown Bowling Green development area with Brookside, Kentucky LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Mr. DeFebo.
Commission, again, with your courtesy, item number 10 and 11 are in the same family, that family being action involved with the TIF. For sake of efficiency, it might be helpful if Gene would give the overview of both of those and ask Mr. Brooks to come forward to represent Chapter 58 and to address any of your questions. Gene?
I'm not sure I have anything to add other than, like I said, these are both, the first one before you we tabled back in December, I think, of 2013. The second one we withdrew from the agenda the night it came forward. On both of these, since we came into a new year, we thought it would be better to just introduce new municipal orders instead of untabling a 2013 one. I'm not too sure, and Kevin can explain, I'm not too sure either one of them is a real significant difference. Block 6 is still the residential wrap on College Street on the garage. And I'll let him, I've got the numbers, 40 units, they're about close to that many. I think it's block 12B and 13. Initially, we called it like block 12. I think it's block 12B and 13. It's going to be a combination of commercial on Center, around Center and 13th. Combination of commercial activity on one side of the road and residential on the other one. I think Kevin and I talked about before the meeting started. I think this one may be on this one, maybe the first phase of this one with more additional phases planned in the future. But other than that, I'll let Kevin go forward. Jeff and I have looked at these. I think at least, we didn't have any other questions. I mean, there's maybe a comment or two y'all may want to talk about perhaps, but I think we both recommended that at least there's enough here we thought we'd go forward with presenting them to the board.
Mr. Brooks, did you have any comments you wish to add?
Not really. These are, I guess, just a little bit more thorough and complete than the last time they came before you. I will explain. You've got pictures there that tell the story way better than I do, but you'll see on the block 12B and 13, there's a schematic of a pretty vast development. That is everything that might happen over the next, hopefully a year or two. But what is certainly going to happen is half of the residential section right there, and what's most easily referred to as the junior foods lot. If any of y'all may have happened to have noticed up there on Center Street, the Junior Foods, they've taken the gasoline tanks out and they've acquired that. They're kind of ready to go on that, anxious to go on that. So those two things are what I guess I would call phase one, and those are going to go, right away. The rest of it, we might be back if we need to tweak or whatever. And then the residential wrap, there's not a whole lot of change there, although I think it's close to ready to go as well. But in terms of the size and scope and location of that project, it hasn't changed since the last time we were here.
Comments or questions?
This is a Missouri-based private developer. When both of these are finished, I believe it's around $30 million of private investment, so that's really good.
Yeah, that is just these that I've told you that are getting ready to go. The rest of that, it's a whole lot more. So, and up in Block 12, certainly in Block 13, we're going to see some retail. So it's one of the things we've really been wanting to do, and now we're going to have some retail generating some TIF revenue up there.
Any other comments or questions?
Just once again, both of you feel comfortable with both of these?
All right.
And this company is not involved with the hotel, is that correct?
No, sir. They're delighted that the hotel's being built, though. So it all works together.
Yes,
I have a quick. What about parking spaces? Are there?
The Block 12B and 13 has a parking garage interior, but there was some coming about a half of space per.
Yeah, that parking garage would not be built as a part of this phase. They can surface park everything, but if they built the other half of the residential, and then there's a pretty large residential with retail on the bottom on the gravel parking lot that Western has now, that building, if they built those, then they would have to build a garage to be able to park it.
So are there enough parking spots for when this is finished? Will there be enough parking spots for each resident there?
The developer certainly thinks so. They're banking on it. The parking ratio is different from what you would see at some residential developments. These guys have, round figures, 5,000 residential units in Columbia, Missouri, and they're looking at other college towns. So they feel like they know how to park it. So the standard is 0.5, but I would tell you that they know that if they don't have enough, they can't rent them. So they might have to create more of that surface parking more quickly than they think.
Is that the backup plan? They will make more parking available somehow?
Or they won't rent them. Yeah. Yeah, this was the subject of a whole lot of vetting at the Planning Commission level on what the parking standards should be. So.
Go ahead.
Well, I feel like if there are indeed enough parking spots for the residents there, it's going to be a win-win. Win for these residents and a win for the other students attending Western, because it's going to release some of those parking spots, I would think.
We think so too. I mean, we don't know exactly how this is going to shake out. Maybe I should tell you, one thing that's different about this development is that you can rent an apartment, and if you want to park there, you can rent a parking spot, but you don't have to rent a parking spot. All of these students at this point have chosen to live off campus, and so maybe they're living at a more remote parking complex, and they would obviously have to have a C sticker to park on campus or make some other kind of arrangements. So some of these students might still make those same arrangements. On the other hand, we think it probably frees up some parking for Western, because some of them won't be buying C stickers now. They'll be buying parking spots from us. Ours will probably be a little more expensive than Western's, but they'll be a little handier for them. So.
But they cannot buy a parking pass unless they rent there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Good.
Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. And Municipal Order 2014-18.
Municipal order approving sub-developer agreement and assignment and assumption of rights and obligations under master developer agreement, which includes a city TIF application related to blocks 12B and 13 of the WKU Gateway to Downtown Bowling Green development area with Brookside, Kentucky LLC.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Is there any discussion? Addition? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes, and that's the last item on our agenda. Our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, February 18th, 2014. We'll take about a 10-minute recess to go into closed session.
No vote.
No vote will be required, Katie, so you're free to go.